Loading your trips and becoming part of the AdventureLink marketplace is quick and easy. Begin by logging in using the login name and password that was created during the registration. Once you have successfully logged into your account using your username and password, you will be directed to the dashboard. The dashboard is your home page and includes messages regarding booking requests and a list of all your trips. Trips can be accessed and managed in one of two ways. For tour operators that have numerous trips and multiple page listings, we recommend using our Trip Management search filter. From here you can search for a trip by location, type of activity, comfort and activity levels, and tour guide languages. Sort the trips you search for by name, when they were last updated, or by availability. You can also access trips under Trip Summary, where you will see a list of current trips that have been previously uploaded and added to the system. To access a trip, click on its name or hover over the trip and click on the drop-down arrow to the right to quickly access a particular page. Review, add and edit the information in any of its 7 sections, including details, itinerary, photos, rates, departures, payment policies, and passenger requirements. Any changes you make will be updated to our site. When adding a new trip, select Click Here under Trip Summary on the dashboard, or click Add New Trip from the drop-down menu under Content Administration. When creating a trip, you will have to provide some initial details through the Add New Trip wizard, a 4-step process that must be completed before you can input additional information regarding your trip. When creating your trip details, you must provide us with a trip name, a brief and full description, language specifications, trip duration, currency, comfort level, and identify who your trip caters to. Lastly, select from our comprehensive list of trip activities. There is no limit to the number of activities you can include with your trip, but it is always best to focus on the primary activities. It is up to you to choose a difficulty level for each activity you select. Click the Next button when you are ready to move on to the next section. Your itinerary is a great way to inform your potential customer about daily activities and events, providing specifics about places they will stay and visit. To begin logging a trip's itinerary, enter a heading for Day 1 and provide text regarding what your customers will do on their first day under Description. The more details you include, the better. Next, enter a location using the geolocator, which you can access by hitting Click to set event location. The geolocator is used to identify a specific place, city, or region. When you plot a location, you are giving the customer a visual map of where that day's itinerary will take place. To start, enter the general geographic location of the place you will be on any particular day under Search by Location Name. Click the Find button. Once Google Maps has found your location, it might give you several options. Click the location that you think best matches your event. A map should appear. Zoom in and out using the scale on the left. Drag the red balloon pin to a place on the map that most closely corresponds to your exact location. To save your location, you will have to click the Save button in the upper right-hand corner of the page. Include the name and description of your trip's accommodation for each night by hitting Click to set Event Lodging. Here you will provide the name of your accommodation for the night and a brief description. Continue this process until you have added information for every day of your trip. Remember, since your itinerary is broken down by day, you have the ability to include details and specifics that were not previously included in your initial descriptions. Keep in mind that you will have to click Next to move on to the next page. Photos are a great way to visually describe your trip. You may upload, preview, and delete photos using this page. To add a photo, click Browse and select photos from your personal database of pictures. Once selected, click Upload Photo. We highly recommend including visually stimulating images, which can work as additional selling points, as people are often much more inclined to visit a place after seeing a stunning photograph. Including photos of people involved in an activity is also a great way to showcase the highlights of your trip. After uploading photos, you will be asked to select a default photo, which will serve as your trip's central photograph in the gallery view on AdventureLink.com. To choose a default photo, click Make Default. Your default photo will be outlined in red, and you can change it at any time. This is the photo that will be viewed the most and that most drives traffic to your trip, so make it stand out. Click Next to move on. Pricing is an essential component for opening up your trip to bookings. You will enter in your pricing as it corresponds to each season and include a rate for one or as many of each field, including adult share, single supplement, and a child rate. If your trip prices are subject to change due to seasonality, use this page to determine your seasons or times of year when you have differences in pricing. Select Add or Edit Seasons in the top right-hand corner of the screen. Click on the calendars to select start and end dates for your seasons. If your trip prices remain constant year-round and do not change based on seasonality, you are not required to enter seasonality and can create a default season. Group discounts and promotional rates are another piece of the process and can be applied later on. Remember, you can always go back in to update your rates. Click Next to confirm your pricing. Great! You've successfully completed the Add New Trip wizard and the first 4 steps in creating your trip. Only 3 more steps remain. Notice that the toolbar across the top of the page allows you to jump back and forth between pages to make edits or additional changes to your content, including the sections just completed. On the departure page, you'll be asked to set your departure dates and manage your trip's availability. Click on the calendars on the right side of the screen to set your departure dates. Once you click on a start date for a departure, the system will automatically set an end date based on the number of days you entered in your initial details. Your selected dates should appear to the left of the calendar under List of Departure Dates. Enter the number of seats or slots that are available for this trip under Available. Keep in mind that if you leave this field blank, we will assume that this departure date is always on request. If you enter 0, it tells us there are 0 spaces for sale on this trip. In other words, you do not want us to sell this departure, and it will not be available when someone searches on trips to your destination. You will recognize chosen departure dates on your calendar because they will be highlighted in yellow, green, and black. Green means more than 3 seats are available. Yellow indicates that less than 3 seats remain, and black tells you that no seats are available. Dates in red are outside the seasons you have defined for this trip. If you have not yet set seasons for your trip, all dates will be red and you will not be allowed to set a departure date. Please define seasons on the Rates page first before selecting departure dates. Click Save It after entering your dates. You are now ready to move on to payment policies. By default, a new trip uses your company-level payment policy, which can be set under Default Policy under Account Information. However, if your payment policy differs for each trip, this page allows you to manage any differences on a trip-by-trip basis. To amend your default policy for this specific trip, click Override Default Policy and make the necessary changes. Remember, whatever changes you make to your policy here will only apply to this trip. To include a cancellation rule, click Add New Cancellation Penalty. If you have changed your mind and want to standardize your policy for all your trips, click Revert to Default Policy. Remember to save your new payment policy for this trip by clicking Save It. Your last and final step is Passenger Requirements. This is the last step in the creation process. The trip checklist is presented to the customer at the time of booking and lists any conditions which would prevent a person from qualifying for your trip. Here you can check and add conditions or create new requirements that are not listed and that you feel pertain to your trip, such as weight restrictions, age, or fitness level. Next, create a packing list and tell the customer about additional instructions and any other articles they may want to bring, such as a passport, camera, hiking boots, bug repellent, and more. Click the Save All button to complete the process. Congratulations! You have successfully added a trip. After completing your final step, your trip is now ready to become active in our system. To make your trip active, return to the dashboard. Find your trip and click Disabled next to the name of the trip. Your trip status should switch to active and is now ready for agent and customer booking.